Good evening out there. Welcome to all of you joining us now. We can actually see in the chat that you are joining us. My name is Ib Tordal, and I'm the host of tonight's 5 years GFX anniversary webinar. Tonight will be all about GFX. It will be all about photography and how actually the photographers work with their tools in their daily work and what they appreciate with the GFX medium format system. There will be some tweaks around the X system too. So we will actually primarily talk about the GFX medium format. I will make a short introduction before we get these 4 fantastic photographers joining us with their experience and how they work in their daily life. But I think that while you are actually going into the live room, I'd like to introduce the first and say hello to the first photographer tonight. And of course, is Jessica Wikström from Sweden. Hi, hello, Jessica.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine too, because now we're here. We tried
Really?
a couple of weeks ago, but now we're actually going live. So that's fantastic. And it's fantastic to have you here again.
You've been here before, for having me again.
Yeah. Besides you, we have another participant. That's Søren Solkær from Denmark. And hi, Søren Solkær. We have another participant. That's, of course, Flemming Bo Jensen, who's actually always along with me when we have these webinars, and he's also the technician behind all the technical stuff that we can actually you know, take control of ourselves. So hi, Flemming, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing well, and we have a couple of small issues, but at least the room is working, and it's good to be back tonight. I'm both the co-host, managing the thing, and I'm also presenting, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
It does mean I have to do 2 things, so we shall see how that goes.
Yeah.
But a brief little introduction, maybe. I'm sure most of you have already found the chat function on the side, and if you don't want to chat, you just want to enjoy the show, there's a 3 little dots. You can just click that, and it collapses the whole panel. If you want to chat with all the people in there, be nice, be respectful to everyone, and ask questions along the way. You can feel free to ask questions anytime during the presentation, because we will be keeping an eye on the questions, and I will ask them for you at the end of every presentation.
Yeah, so feel free to ask questions along. We will catch the questions, as many as we can actually catch during this live event. And we are so happy that you're not just helping us today, that you're actually presenting too, Flemming. That's fantastic. And maybe I will have a half an hour one day where I can do a special presentation besides the company presentations that I always do. But of course, tonight is about GFX, and while we are getting the last photographers into the room and saying hello, we have, of course, Jessica, Søren Solkær, we have Pål Laukli and Flemming. And now Pål Laukli, he popped up, and maybe Hi, Pål.
Hey, how is it?
There you are. Welcome.
Oh, wait, all of us.
And Søren, you're also in the room now. Of course, today is pure telling about photography in general. So we will see pictures, we see movies, and we will see some great stuff from all these 4 photographers. As a beginning, I actually will tell you a bit about how everything started, and maybe some hints about in what direction we actually are heading. So these 5 years of GFX, along with the 10 years of X, has been very exciting. And we are not newcomers within GFX medium format. We have actually been there for quite some while. But let's take the 2 systems that we have. We have the best balance system, as we call it, the X-mount system, where we have 10 years of anniversary this year, and we will come back to that one. You will see plenty of stuff during this year around the X system. And then we have tonight's topic, GFX medium format, 5 years of GFX. They work together in a good way, and you'll probably see some of the photographers tell about both systems tonight, and that's a good reason behind that one. We of course make APS-C and medium format sensors. We don't make the smaller sensors, but we make the larger sensors that is available within the mirrorless system at the moment. So we aim to go large and skip full frame, because we mean that the medium format, the image quality is our next step actually, and skip the full frame. So we have a small versatile system, and we have a huge sensor system, still versatile and small in size and shape, so nothing there. It's of course 70% larger than full frame, and that's why we actually do it. We want the best resolution, the best picture quality. We want the best of everything, actually. And with the new technology, it makes it easy to actually do that. As I told you previously before, that we are not newcomers in this medium format segment. We actually started back in 1948 with our first 6x6 medium format camera. And since then, we actually came with a different amount of medium format cameras in different shapes, panorama and the professional GFX 680 and so on. So we have a huge history with lenses and cameras in the medium format size. So we actually know what we're doing in that format. And we actually brought history back to current time, because we have this technique with the mirrorless system, and it made it actually available again to make a mirrorless system. And actually in 2016 we actually joined Photokina, and we were actually on the front pages of all the magazines that actually were talking about Photokina, and everyone was only talking about Fujifilm and medium format mirrorless cameras, and that was awesome. It was fair only where they only actually talked about this, and they talked about everything else, but the main topic was Fujifilm GFX 50S, and we launched it in 2017. And the year after, 2018, we came with another 50 million pixel camera, like the 50S is a 50 million pixel camera, the 50R, like a more rangefinder style like camera, and those actually launched this area within medium format. And already in 2019, we came with the GFX 100 and skipped up to 102 megapixels within medium format. That was huge. And we also implemented IBIS, so we could actually nowadays do beyond 400 megapixels when we pixel shift on that sensor. The same year, we actually got supported by Capture One, and that made us enter the professionals segment, where many of the professionals use Capture One and for tethering and so on. And then we're actually joining the professional market there too with the GFX system. And 2021, we made the camera smaller, 100 megapixels in a smaller body, still with IBIS, better IBIS, but we actually squeezed it down to a smaller size, so it's almost like a full frame camera in size and weight. And if you pull along with 3 lenses, it's the same weight, so it's even less weight than a full frame system. And recently we launched the 50S Mark II, also with IBIS. So now we have a 50 million pixel camera with IBIS and a 100 million pixel with the IBIS in it. Fantastic 5 years. And this is some of the pictures taken by our photographers and ex-photographers, ambassadors, wildlife. And yeah, you actually see a snowboarder. It's Daniel Tings. He actually brought it along on the slopes and took some action pictures. And you can actually do that with these medium format system. And that's what the direction we are actually aiming at, besides a lot of other stuff. And of course, the portraits is made for medium format. You have the fall off, you have the resolution, you have the colors, etc. We will go into that with Jessica Wikström. You should see Knut Krøvestad picture here also. And then, of course, we have still life and art, Mia Galle, Per Anders Jørgensen, food pictures and still life, which is also a good camera to work with when you're doing those topics. And why not wildlife? That's getting the depth of field and so on, and the broadness and the details from the savannah. Serkan Güneş is one of the guys who actually makes fantastic pictures with these cameras on the savannah. And recently we got the Alexandra Klum, the Klum couple, with the art and stitching together pictures, and we will actually probably meet them later on a webinar or something like that, doing fantastic pictures, huge prints and so on with the GFX system. And tonight's host, Flemming Bo Jensen, concert photography, and Pål Laukli, who's here making the commercial photography, and yeah, all kinds of photography he's actually doing with the GFX. So we're talking about more resolution, more dynamic range, more bokeh, more of everything, more sensor, more IBIS, everything, more of everything, and that's our goal and aim to go after that. More resolution is definitely what many of us want. So resolution is a great topic, so you can actually get all the details, and Pål will probably show us that later on. And when we talk more resolution, we can see the new Slussen in Stockholm being built, but this is actually just a part of the original picture, which is like this. So we are talking about resolution in a big scale, and that makes it very exciting. And more dynamic range, we all want more dynamic range so we can produce our pictures. And when it sometimes goes wrong and we make it too dark, it's no problem. When you have a large sensor, you just pull up the highlights and so on, and you can actually get a sharp picture without losing details, and still be able to print it and deliver it to your customers, or just print it large, no problem. This is the benefits from a huge and large sensor, definitely. Also, when you actually blow up the highlights, you actually see details, and that's sometimes almost impossible to gain when you blow out highlights, but you still get it. And of course, bokeh, more bokeh, more bokeh. That's some wants bokeh in huge piles, so you can get that too with the GFX systems and the lenses. And you get more creative with a large sensor. You can crop like crazy, and Flemming will tell us about that, how he benefits from that exact features. So, and just to tell you that we are actually doing the same practicing as an X system, that we actually build the system and it evolves, and we will come with 3 new lenses to the system. It will be a 55mm of 1.7. It's equivalent to 44 millimeters, and we'll come with the 20 to 35, 16 to 28 in 35mm format. And many have wished this a tilt shift for architectures and product shoots. So that will also come within the next year in GFX system. So we're heading straight ahead and building the system for you, like we did with the X system, which contains 40 lenses today. So we are going full speed on this. So let's actually go back to what it's all about. It's actually all about you out there, you as the photographers who actually use the tool and the cameras, and would like to hear more about the system, how it performs and so on. And tonight we have these 4 amazing photographers, and the first photographer I will bring to the stage here on the webinar is actually Pål Laukli from Norway. So you're there, Pål. That's great.
I am.
Yeah. So I will actually just leave you on this stage, but you probably have to tell us how you work with the Fujifilm as a tool in general, but because you work wide with the whole system, not only the GFX system, but you work with all kinds of aspects with our cameras. So take us along. How did you get started with this?
Actually, the first, can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah.
My first experience with Fujifilm was actually the X20 way back. We were doing a shoot in New York, and I stopped to get it at B&H in New York. And I work, part of my team, my wife and I work as a team. And after 20 minutes, she grabbed the camera and never gave it back. So I had to go back and get another one. And I think the first thing that sort of struck me was the film simulations, just like the ease of everything, how it just feels like a camera and not a computer. And I think this is like the main thing. I mean, I'm such a fanboy, but I'm not. The only thing I'm really a fanboy about, I think, is actually Fujifilm cameras. I'm one of the guys who went from Mac to PC, so I'm not like into sort of gadgets and things really. But when it comes to these cameras, it's just that the total package. It just feels the way it did back in the day when I started photographing. It's almost like a revelation the first time you started using these cameras. And now, like all the other, not all of it, but many of the other producers are kind of trying to emulate this style. And I don't think it should be called, like, it's not old school or vintage. It's just the things that work the best. And then when the GFX system came along, for me, the way I work as a commercial photographer, it was just a godsend, and it just completed everything. So it's really been something that's really changed the way I work. Actually, I have to be honest. I used to work on digital like camera backs, but now with the GFX, the GFX 100 is like our daily workhorse, combined with the XT4. We do both film and we do stills, and this package is just complete. So that's where we're at these days.
And you have some work to show us. You do both stills and film and mix it and combine these both the X system and the GFX actually.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we really do use both of them. We did last weekend. We did a skiing brand, and then basically we do sort of all the branding shots on the GFX. If there's some action shots and we need some more speed, then we just switch over to the XT4. And it's just a seamless thing. It's sometimes I'll even just like put that one memory card over in the other just to not spread the data out. The menus are the same, but the overall feel of it is the same. And I don't use any optional optics. I just use the Fujifilm lenses because I think they're amazing. And I mean, I was shooting a lot of stuff on the 110, and then the 80 came along. Now it's that one. It's just every time something comes along, it's just really, really good. And I think that's the. I know this sounds like I'm such a fanboy, but it's because I am.
Yeah, you are. You can definitely tell that you are. But you're honest about it, because you also push our cameras to the limit.
Yes, we do.
That's what we want to, and you push it all the way. And
yeah, we really beat them up, and I can show some stuff. I mean, when we were asked to talk to this, it's really hard to just choose stuff. But I'll just start show some things here. Yeah. So like this is for an artist called Alan Walker. These are all like composite jobs, but when we're working with people of this kind of level who literally have billions of streams and listens, it has to be right. You know, the files need to be perfect. And it's like you mentioned before, this is in collaboration with a computer company called ASUS. But all of these people that are working on these projects, they just expect everything to be great and perfect. And I think that what we see is that the way when we're shooting is that you always just trust the camera. And I think when the GFX 100 came, I think that's like the best camera that's ever made. And I've really had pretty much, I mean, I've got like a 28-year-long career now, and I think it's just the optimal thing for me. And it's just everything about it. It's like you mentioned some of the things like the color depth, the sharpness. I mean, the resolution is kind of an obvious thing, but I've also worked on digital backs from, I'm not going to name any companies, but where the pictures just don't feel like photography. It feels very digital. It feels, yeah, it's just like too crisp and too sharp. I don't know how the Fujifilm engineers have done this, but for me, most of this stuff just works right out of the camera. So whenever we're doing this kind of stuff, it's just so easy to hand it over, to do post-production, to do design, all of this kind of stuff. So this is like, this is for Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I would like to have a sip with that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's the thing is, like, as an example, this shot here is not really part of that campaign, but at that location we were shooting, all of a sudden the light came through this window and we just placed the Alan Walker on, you know, and it's just, you can always do stuff like this. It's super fast. It kind of, the GFX is so simple to use that, like, I could give it to my mother and she'd make it work. And I think that's the whole idea of it. There's no cables, there's nothing. It's just a camera. It's fast. It's instant. The autofocus is precise. It does like all of these things very, very well.
You mentioned autofocus, because that's when you talk about medium format. That's a big word that you talk about, autofocus. Does it actually work that fast? Because we know it, I know it, but
yeah, it does. I mean,
good enough for a commercial job.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely the kind of work that I do, for sure. I mean, to, like, honestly, like, if you're shooting like sports, for example, I'll grab like the XT4 because it is faster. You can like hammer faster, you know. But you gotta, you know, step back a little bit and realize what it is. You're shooting absolutely enormous files with crazy color depth and just insane resolution. So in a package that's really compact, like the 100S, it's like you can just throw it over your shoulder. And to work with this kind of power, if you will, on the previous system that we had before we got the GFX, it was just it was a lot of weight. It was a lot of camera. And I think that whole combination of user, how do you say it, user friendliness, speed, accuracy, all of these things, it just combines. So for example, like most of our work is teamwork. You know, I'm not the photographer. Like I work with my wife. She works as an art director, sometimes makeup artist. Matthias, my assistant, he does a lot of our editing. And then we handed, this is done by Stockholm creators. A little fun fact, this was a bit of a scandal, this shot, because that bow is strung the wrong way around. So that actually made national news when that poster came out. Yeah. But the point is that when whatever we're handing these things over to, everyone is just like, it's perfect, because you can bend it, twist it, it's, you know, whatever way you want. Obviously, we could also show, I use the GFX also for a lot of just like natural stuff when I'm photographing my kids, but we don't really have time to go into it, so I had to choose these kinds of jobs to show. But the beauty of it is how fast we work. I think that's like, there's a lot of talk about like the technical aspects of like resolution, you know, 16 bits, 14 bits, all this kind of stuff. But the amazing thing is that we do, even like we've done cinema advertising shot on the GFX 100 in full, you know. Yeah. So it's that whole package where you just get all of it in one package. And when you combine that with the XT4, for me, it's like we're there. It's, you know, we don't really need anything else.
It's when I hear you and when I look at the stuff you do, you're a great example of actually working with two systems, which makes sense. You can work from you can actually take the whole you know, width of the system, and as a tool you can actually make everything you want with those two systems, where you need the resolution, where you need the speed, and where you do this. It's a great that you actually have different kind of tools in your daily life. It makes sense.
It does, and it's for me. It's I'm a bit of a hyperactive type of person, and if stuff doesn't work, I just get really annoyed, like extremely annoyed. I've never, like, whenever there's been an issue with the GFX, I just pop the battery out, put it back in, and then it sort of resets, and you're back in order. But I've had previous systems once where I was up in the forest, and in the middle of the shoot, the camera demanded a firmware update, and we didn't even have cell phone coverage.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a thing. But also we prepared just like a little thing just to show the way we work. So maybe Flemming, if you could just play that little thing.
Yeah.
I think this is really a great way to show how you actually work and how versatile your job is, that you actually need it in all different kind of scenarios, and that's actually the point. You're a great test person in that matter, because you can test it in all different kind of ways, and still there's a camera for each individual photographer if you're only aiming at two disciplines, but you're actually aiming at everything almost. If you get the job, you take it and you deliver. So
I still haven't managed to break one.
No, you haven't.
No, I haven't broken one. I've broken some lenses, but no camera yet.
No, that's great. I don't know whether we have some questions for you. We often just listen because it's so exciting. And Flemming, has there been any questions to Pål during this session?
Yeah, I think that maybe Pål can answer this one from Core Bach, who's asking whether you've ever shot with the GFX in very low temperatures.
Yes, I have. I haven't shot with it in like Tommy Simonsen style temperatures, but we have shot with it in very, very cold weather. And the only thing that's been a problem is that obviously the battery kind of runs out. You have to keep some batteries extra and keep them warm. But like I never had like a malfunction of the camera or anything like that.
No.
So, but I mean, I think any camera, any battery, if it's like minus 10 degrees, it'll, it won't last too long.
Yeah.
That's just
the most important stuff is that the shutter doesn't.
Yeah, no, I never had anything like that. But we're always very careful when we work outdoors in Norway. We don't bring the cameras in and out and in and out. If we're outdoors, we leave them outdoors so they just stay cold, so we don't get the condensation and things like that.
Yeah. So it's fantastic to see how you work with the cameras, and you are actually making it, at the hardest test that we can actually pull together with Tommy. And we've seen him in another webinar when he goes way up north in 30- degrees and
he's on his way to Africa now, actually.
Oh, Africa, yeah. So, so as you understand, it's from 50 degrees Celsius to minus 40 degrees Celsius, and you should just be able to bring it along like that. So it's fantastic.
I think like the point I want to make about this stuff is that if you have a camera, if I can just show you something real quick. Hang on a second. Because the thing with this is, like, obviously we use a lot of lighting. We shoot a lot of lighting all the time. We do this kind of stuff. But a lot of the stuff we do is just natural light. And so these images are just straight out of camera. They're not really done anything with, And I think that's the kind of stuff that really appeals to me with the GFX system. This is for a vintage clothing chain in Norway, but it's just, you can just take it out and shoot and just use the film simulations. None of them are like overboard, and I hate retouching. I really detest retouching. So a lot of the stuff that we do, even for some of the bigger clothing chains, we don't actually retouch the pictures. We just sort of put, pull a little contrast and then just hand it to them.
Okay, that's actually surprises me that, but many tells me that you can actually do that, but you actually shorten down your production time and
a lot. I know that even like Scott Johnson, who's an English photographer, he just shoots JPEGs now and just gives it to the client. But I think that a lot of the idea is that you can shoot natural lighting. You can do this is like his name is Karsten Warholm. He's an Olympic world record holder. This is really was done for kind of a bit of a cheesy advertising campaign, and just as he was changing his clothes, he was just, the light was nice, and he just turned around and took a picture of him. It's that kind of stuff that it's instant. You can really, this is Casper Ruud, is a tennis player. This is not really part of the job, but it's just there. And I think that's the idea, that you can be super, super fast and sort of, and just do stuff that's instant, You really never have to like plan for these kind of shots, And I think that kind of I don't know how to say it, but it's I don't know the word for it, but it's instinctive. You can just shoot when you see stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, it's almost just like working with like a little point and shoot. Yeah. So like these things here are just like from a band called Orabrot that we work a lot with, and we're just shooting in the light that we have, And that's a really, really nice thing to be able to do with this stuff.
It's awesome.
So I think that, if I was gonna do a selling point for these camera systems, it wouldn't actually be the resolution. Obviously, that's amazing. Like 100 megapixels is great. The color depth, it's super, super good. But I mean, obviously, there's other systems that have that kind of stuff. But what they don't have is that amazing, like, versatile package. It's compact, it's fast, it's trustworthy. So I'm a fanboy all the way, man. I love it. I absolutely love the GFX. I think it's the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah. And when I see you told after Photokina, some years after Photokina, you told on a talk you had in Denmark that sell your gear because this is really good.
Yeah, and I was right too, man.
Yeah, and you were standing there with, maybe there was 5 of these cameras in the Nordics or just nearby the Nordics, and said, "Sell your cameras. This would be awesome." And
yeah, this is going to be the thing, and it did become the thing, and it is the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna, I don't want to like talk down any other systems, but I did have a very, very, very expensive camera system, and when I tried to sell it, I should have listened to myself, because when I did sell it, I hardly got anything for it. Nobody wanted it. So,
but as you say, the versatility in the system, that it's light and you can bring it along on every shoot, and you just have it. If you have it nearby, you get the shot. So that's
yeah, and also it's not something, I don't feel like it's my watch. You know what I mean? I treat it as a tool. It's a hammer. It's I bring it out in the rain. We just bring it everywhere. I'm not like treating. I mean, it's obviously a very expensive. I wouldn't even, like, compared to what you get for it, I wouldn't even call it expensive. But it's from what you get back. This is how we make a living. So for us, I wouldn't call it expensive even. I think it's very reasonably priced, to be honest. But it's still, for most people, especially if you're not professional, it is expensive. But we don't treat it like it's a jewelry or something. We treat it like a tool, and it just takes a lot of beating. And so it's the shit, man.
Yeah. So thank you very much for showing your pictures and movie and telling about how you work with this system in your daily life, and just Fuji in common. And we know that, and we can definitely point out that you tested to the limit. So that's great. So, and we will keep on hearing from you when we bring new stuff to the market. So we'll give it to you.
Can't wait, man.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right.
So thank you very much, and we'll skip to the next one. That's Flemming, actually, who will take the stage and tell us about how he worked with the system. And so now we have Flemming, and I will actually leave the stage to you, because you have some exciting stuff to tell us and show us, and something that we actually wouldn't expect from you, that you're using the GFX sometimes in between the X system. That actually surprises me, that when you ask for it. Can I borrow that one? Can I try that one?
Yeah, well, I will try and explain why. And also,
I didn't understand that, so you need to explain it to me. How can you actually do that?
Yeah, I'll try. Good to be back. Need to do a little refresh, which also means you need to make me an administrator again.
Yes, and I will give you permission to take the lead. So the stage is yours.
Thank you. Okay, we are rolling, and here's a couple of bullet points about me. Been making pictures for quite a long time, but professionally about 10 years, and mostly as a professional music and event photographer. But the most important part you really need to know is that this is not my 80s bedroom, but it could be. It looked pretty much exactly like that, and actually it's kind of the same now. It's just slightly more organized. I'm a photographer, but I am first and foremost a massive music fanatic. Absolutely have loved music ever since I got that first cassette player as a kid. And that's the whole basis for everything that I do. I did, however, learn photography through lots of traveled the world for quite a lot of years, and did a lot of all kinds of photography, really. Just a lot of experimentation, and I kind of like doing it. I like sort of trying out and testing and learning all kinds of different things, which is actually part of why I asked for the GFX. I actually still do quite a lot of different assisting. I have always done this, and I still do everything from movie sets to documentaries, music videos. I work doing camera and lights on live stream productions. That's me in the cartoons outfit. And I always recommend this to people. Like, if you want to learn all kinds of different skills, just assist and help others, because it's such a great learning tool and it's really fun. And you get to try out all kinds of different things. I have been using the X system for actually since 2011. When the X100 came out, I switched to the X Pro 1 and using Fujifilm exclusively in 2012. And now the X-T3 is my favorite camera. That I have two of those, and it's just, for me, it's really the perfect documentary camera for all the sort of the action live event shots, especially the live music photography. And the reason for that is really, yeah, the camera is fast. The GFX is pretty fast too. I mean, I've used the X-T1 and that's way slower than a GFX. It's not really that I'm lacking the autofocus and other speeds on the GFX. The main thing for me is that I need to be able to make this style of pictures. I need to be really, really quick, so the size really matters. And the X-T3 with a small prime on it, it's such a tiny camera that I can hang over a fence, standing on top of a fence as I am here, holding on with one hand and operating the camera with the other hand. So the idea about this fast camera is that it's actually making me fast. I can move really fast. I can shoot one-handed very easily. I've made pictures like this with the GFX, but just because of the sheer size and weight, the X-T3 is just a lot more suited for it. So that's the best tool for these kind of pictures, because this is really my style with these kind of pictures. I love to be so close that you kind of feel like you're going to get hurt. Like you have to be so close that you're thinking, how is it even possible to take you this close to the action? Like you're right in the middle of this concert, which also means sometimes it's not going to be a technically perfect image, which I don't really care about. That's also not why I use GFX. It's not really the technicalities. It's pure emotion I'm going for here. Then sometimes we have pictures like this one, and that's basically a landscape picture. Okay, I don't have all day to make it. I have a couple of minutes, but in terms of a concert, that's like eternity. And this is like more like a landscape picture. I have a bit of time to compose, and it's a much more sort of carefully composed image. And it's also a situation where I'm thinking, I really wish that this view was much wider. I don't mean wide angled, because obviously that's going to get wider, but a wide angle, as you know, the more extreme it gets, if you put a 10mm on, it's just going to push everything really far away. And I don't want to push the band and the background far away. It needs to be up here and be immersive. I just want it to be wider. And we used to be able to do this because, like Ip said, Fuji makes the most amazing panoramic film cameras. That's actually my masterpiece from Copenhagen with the G617, which is a beast of a camera. It actually shoots on a negative for transparency that's 6x17 centimeters. So that's an amazing panoramic camera. Also, like completely impractical. The TX1, however, if you happen to have one of those, I'd love to buy it. Nah, I'm kidding. It's worth a fortune if you have it. We're never going to get digital versions of these cameras. Except when the GFX came out, I thought, hang on, there's a giant sensor. You can use this as a panoramic camera because of two things. The image quality is one thing, because you're going to crop half the pixels away. So you need the rest of the pixels to be, well, plentiful and also really high quality. But also the sensor size is really important. Now this is about the image quality and the size of the picture. This is a uncropped 102 megapixels GFX 100. And as you can see, GFX sensor is actually almost square. It's both, you know, it's a 4:3 format, so it's actually more square than your normal cameras. It's nowhere near panorama. It's actually the opposite. But if you look at this, I am obviously composing it with a panoramic view in the viewfinder, and there's way too much sky that's composed to be chopped off so that I can get to my end product, which is this. And this is the very first GFX 100. Actually, it was the only one in the country that I took to Roskilde and bathed in rain and mud and hammered it around the festival because I wanted to make panoramas. I wanted to make these crop panoramas. And this is 2:1. There's still 57 megapixels left. And it's a really immersive view. It's not that wide angle thing where you push everything really far away. And that's the benefit of the giant sensor. Now, this thing about the height that sometimes comes in handy, because, I mean, essentially I'm also a commercial photographer. These always get delivered somewhere, not always for the amount of money that I wish I could get, but they do get delivered always to a client at the other end. And occasionally they say, can we have something in vertical? And there's just no time to shoot every picture in both formats during a show like this. And I love panoramas. It's just how I see the world. So I'm just not a vertical shooter. I very rarely make pictures like that. But, you know, if you have a GFX file, because of the extra height, you can just chop out this. And you have, well, if I can read my own screen, you have 30 megapixels left. It's still the more than an X-T3. It's a little extra bonus you get from these files. I mean, you could obviously do the same from an X-T3 files. If you're using it for Instagram, it's fine. But, you know, if you're printing it, you might be stretching it. With the GFX, no problem at all. Very briefly about sensor size, it quickly gets very technical, and the only thing I want to say is that it's a much bigger view with the same lens. This is important because if you're going to whack, again, an extreme wide angle on it to get this 90-degree view, you're going to push everything really far away, and it's going to distort the image. Whereas the larger the sensor, I mean, a 30mm lens is 30mm. It's the same. It's just a question of how big a lens you put behind it. So if you put the GFX behind it, you can see that it's a lot bigger than the full frame and a huge amount bigger than the X-T3. This means that you can make these cropped, beautiful panoramas that feel very immersive because you're at a focal length where it looks very natural and is not distorted. And in this case, I mean, that's essentially shooting the background. The background is the stage and the lights. I don't want to push the background away. Quite the contrary, but I also like it to be wide. And again, that's why I wanted the GFX, because of the giant sensor. I'm going to throw half the pixels away because there's no digital panoramic camera, but now there is. Because if you take this, and let's jump into this concert, the biggest band in Denmark, the Minds of 99, and the biggest concert in all of Europe since Corona was this concert. It maybe still is, actually. It was this concert back in September, 52,000 people in the National Stadium. If you're standing, you know, it's a football stadium. I'm thinking I have to bring the GFX. It's like I need the panoramic view, and even that is nowhere near wide enough to capture a stage that's 80 meters wide. But these views from the stage with the GFX, to me, they just feel more immersive. They just feel like I'm there because, again, you have this natural lens focal length, but because of the big sensor, you have the huge image, so I could literally crop this any way I want, and I want panoramas. I am, of course, still using the X-T3. I have that on the other shoulder because there's all these action shots. And again, I want to say I could nail this on the GFX, but I just much prefer the X-T3 for it. In this case, I don't need to crop it. I don't need all the other stuff. I just need to be really, really fast, but I also need to think and move fast, and the X-T3 makes me feel fast. And I don't know if there's an actual difference, but it feels to me it's smaller. I bring it and I run with it, and I'm not afraid to let go of it and just use it one-handed. And then straight back to the GFX, of course, when we get these big, massive panoramas, this view of the massive stage. This is a great example, by the way, of all the image quality you get as well, the color depth and the details. I mean, you can easily see the people on stage. It can actually contain most of this insane dynamic range you have in these concert pictures. Back to the X-T3, because now I'm running around capturing the action. And in this case, I'm a little bit prepared because I've been part of the rehearsals too. So that helps. I kind of know what situations are coming, and I've already sort of thought in my mind which camera I want to use. And sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's also just nice to, wing it all, but not when you have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to shoot a concert, biggest concert ever at the football stadium. You'd like to be a little bit prepared. GFX shot here again from stage, and again you can see, just check out the size, the catwalks, and how wide I need to get this in frame. How big everything is by far the widest, tallest concert I've ever shot, so to speak, and that's a huge challenge, and that's where the GFX really came in very handy for this show. Now, I'm just going to take a sip of water and I tell you that I could go on for hours about this concert, but I won't. There's already a YouTube movie about this concert. You can see way more about it and many more pictures. I will instead click next and show you some hammers, which Paul already kind of mentioned and took away my joke. But anyway, slightly confusing, but that's Thor in the red cape, and that's not Thor with the cameras. And the reason for the hammers is that you have different tools for different jobs, and that's what they all are. They're tools. There's actually 3 different cameras on me, and as you can tell, the GFX on my right shoulder, left side of the picture, it's still pretty small. You can easily run around with it. And different hammers for different jobs, because I use the ones that are most suited to whatever I'm doing. There's also an XT30 with a fisheye. And there's not, unless you have a, Thor's hammer, one hammer is not going to do it all. You have different tools, and it's the same with lenses. So I don't always get this sort of thing about you need one camera to do everything. It's probably just going to be mediocre at everything. And that's why I'm using the GFX for the panoramas. That's what I want to use it for. It's amazing for that. By the way, another great tool you need to bring, good shoes, and preferably some that are sort of waterproof as well. This is going to be your office maybe for a week, looking like this. And this is a situation where it's good to have the small cameras. Because I'm thinking ahead going, this is not really my shot, except I do like this picture, but it's a different kind of documentary picture. I am instead waiting and getting into position with my small camera so that I can make this one 1 minute later. And that's the beauty of the small compact cameras. It's not just the speed of them. For me, it's always also going to be a size thing. And then from the same stage, okay, not the same concert, but the same stage, the GFX is perfect for making these type of pictures, which I simply cannot make on the XT3. If I did, they would be wildly distorted and everything would be pushed so far away, it'd be really dull. This is, by the way, a view that's pretty much exactly like the old G617 panoramic camera. And so is this one actually. It's actually it's a bit weird when you're shooting it. I tried to set the viewfinder to 16:9 to kind of have an idea of what I'm doing. But it'd actually be really nice if you could just have a whole bunch of crop lines that you could set in the viewfinder. It's just to have a little bit of guidance. I mean, obviously you get a raw file. This has a lot of ceiling and a lot of stage that I've cut off. So I'm trying to, in my mind, see these panoramas. And finally, one of the more epic GFX pictures I made at this concert with the Minds of 99. Also demonstrates again the detail and just the colors and how good it is at capturing how great a tool, how great a hammer it is for these type of shots. And that's kind of how it fits perfect into my concert photography. Finally, I got a lot to say and not a lot of time, but we're almost done. No matter which tool I'm grabbing, it's not really about the tool. It's never about the tool. It's always about getting the emotion of the picture. I have to see emotion coming out of it. I have to see energy coming out of it. And in my case, you're transforming an experience that's, I mean, it's a sensory overload when you're there, of sound and lights and atmosphere and crowd and everything. And I'm trying to reduce that to a 2D, quiet, still picture. So everything needs to be a little more theatrical, because really you need to hear music coming out of a still picture. You need to really tune your eye to find these moments. And that's also what I mean by necessity. I mean, I don't expect you out there to find all my pictures necessary. Most of them are certainly not necessary as such, but music has a lot of power, and has a lot of power in uniting people. And for me, when I look at it, I have to feel that this was a really, like, I had to make this picture. This was a necessary moment. There's an intent behind, for example, this picture here. And that's really not all pictures that I make, far from it. Tick all these boxes, but the ones that I keep, and especially the ones in my portfolio, they definitely need to tick at least these boxes, and maybe even more. And that is really, no matter which tool I'm using, that's just like, yeah, those things are the most important thing. Yeah. Finally, before I jump to my very last slide and we can have a few questions, I have a website, and I like to make photo essays, and there's actually more than 700 of them on there, and videos and stuff. So honestly, social media sucks for viewing photography. So at the very least, if you're going to look on a screen, get a larger screen, look at, essays, look at stuff like that, and go to the library, get books and stuff. Instagram sucks for viewing people, especially if you're talking about GFX and 102 megapixels. It makes no sense to view on a postage stamp. So there's a website, and there's a festival picture to end with, because we're going to have festivals again this summer for the first time in 3 years. And I think this picture shows really what it's all about. It's just the love of music and the passion for music. And that's me.
That's you, Flemming. That was fantastic. Actually, when we're talking about that the festivals are coming, there's a question for you from Silvano. And if you only had to choose one camera or one camera system size, would you prefer the X-T3 or the GFX 100 for your job? If you only could choose one camera, actually.
Yeah, it would definitely be the X-T3, because I mean, it's a perfect all-around camera, and I use the GFX for a specific purpose, and that's for adding a new tool, the big panoramic pictures, to my my toolbox during the bigger shows. I don't bring GFX to the smaller shows anyway. There's particular shows where it fits. So for overall, I would always just go with the X-T3. I would always just take that.
Yeah. This was great. Thank you very much, Flemming. You drove us through a tour on GFX and X system. So this is great. Another hammer explanation, and that's fantastic, because you have another job, another type of pictures, but you worked around everything. So I hope you got some ideas out there. There's some questions I will actually leave for later on, because when we are talking GFX, there's something about 50 megapixels or 100. I think we should leave that to the end, because then the four of you could actually pop or answer that question. So I will say thank you from you, Flemming, and then we'll go to the next shooter and next photographer, and that's our lady Jessica. So I would like to, hi Jessica, invite you to involve us in your daily work. And now we've seen Pål commercial photography, you've seen concerts photography, working with tools like that. And one of my slides was actually about portrait photography. And then there's two people that pops in my mind in Sweden. That's Knut Koivisto and you, Jessica Wikström. And you have been away from the photography stage for some years, and then you actually came back. And I'm wondering what made you actually choose to go into medium format suddenly, and why Fuji, and are you only doing portrait photography these days only, or are you doing some other great stuff?
That was a lot of questions. But...
Damn it! And you didn't know that I would pop those questions, did you?
Oh no, I did not. I should have written them down. And I have a very talkative cat here, so sorry about that. But yeah. So, oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I think she has a cat, and it's a bit angry that she's actually on television today, so on a webinar. And we have dogs. Pål has a dog, and we have a dog. So if they hear the cat, we might get in trouble with the cats and dogs. So bear over with us. So.
Yeah. So sorry. We have a puppy, and she loves the cat, and the cat hates the dog. So whenever they encounter, it kind of gets very messy. And
yeah.
Yes. Okay, now I kind of forgot the questions, but I encountered Fujifilm, or the medium format of the GFX, back in 2017, when I was asked to try out the GFX 50, and back then I was shooting with Canon, I was shooting with Leica, so I was like, yeah, what could possibly be amazing with the new camera kind of feeling. But I accepted the challenge, and I borrowed the camera for about a month, and I fell in love with it. It sounds so corny to say, but that kind of was the feeling I had after the first shoot. I actually have the pictures from that shoot to show you guys. It was instant love. Yeah. Oh, I hate when I say that, but that's the truth.
Yeah, you have to tell what actually catches you when, and there's a lot of emotion in actually the cameras too. Why you fall in love with the style, the colors, the picture,
yes.
Yeah, and that's typical for Fujifilm. So you're not awkward. We all have our crush on Fujifilm somehow. So, and that's your crush, and that's you have a lot of photographers out there that's got the same crush. So yeah.
I mean, good company then.
Yeah.
Yes. Should we bring up the slide?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. So hi guys up there, my name is Jessica, and I've been a Fujifilm photographer since 2018, and I became an ambassador in 2019, kind of before Corona struck. So yeah, that was fun. But I have been a photographer for 15 years, and I think I've been shooting. It feels like I've been shooting every genre out there. Weddings, portraits, of course, products, some commercial stuff. But that wasn't my jam. As Ib said, I took a break from photography for about 2 years, where I sold off all my equipment. I I canceled my studio I was renting, and I was giving up on photography because I didn't feel any love for it. But then a couple of situations made me come back to photography again, and I rebooted my career with the Leica M9. And that's when I decided that I only wanted to do portraits. So I stripped away everything that I was told that I should be doing as a photographer, that I should be doing everything. I had to do weddings if I was supposed to shoot people, and I hate doing weddings. So I concentrated mainly on portraits. And that took me to meeting Fujifilm and beginning to use the best system there is. And I opened up my very own studio in the middle of the pandemic in 2020, and it's still going strong, and I only do portraits now, which is awesome. I'm so happy about that. So here you can see some of my work. One of the things I was shooting when I came back to photography was actually bearded men. Long story, but yeah, that was fun, and it brought me back to photography. And so to the left, you can see kind of where I started out back in 2016, 17, and it's almost like a timeline over stuff I made. And the last picture on the right, you can actually see wedding portraits. I actually did a wedding portrait session in the studio on New Year's Eve. But that's a different kind of thing than going out doing weddings for me. I'm very, very stationary when I shoot. I am not one of those awesome photographers that can throw on their gear and just go out, and I admire them so much, but I am way too lazy. I really like the comfort of my studio, so I do everything in studio. And so back to the point where I discovered Fujifilm and the GFX system. Like I said, I was actually contacted by Fujifilm, where they asked me to try out their new medium format camera. And at that point, the experience I've had with medium format cameras was that they were heavy, they were big, bulky, they were slow to work with. So that was kind of what I was going into when I picked up the GFX. And I was like, yeah, okay, fine, let's do this. I wasn't sure I was going to be impressed or if I was going to like it. I was afraid that it would feel very technical. It would feel kind of, modern. I don't like this super, super clean, modern look in my images. And that's why I liked Leica, because they had this cinematic kind of touch, which I was after. So I went into this shoot with a lot of kind of negative thoughts about it. Sorry, Fujifilm, but that's how it was. But then when I came home, I was like, holy crap, this is the best thing I've seen, kind of. And what I instantly fell in love with was the colors and what you can do with them. I don't edit too much, especially not skin retouch. I concentrate a lot on colors and the lighting when I or the light when I retouch. So to the left, you can see the raw file. It didn't look super exciting when I saw it back on the back of the camera, but when I was looking at it on my monitor, when I could zoom in on it, it was like, oh my goodness, it's the best thing ever. And it was just a joy to edit, which sounds really silly perhaps. I hate editing too. It's so boring, but this, you felt the image, when you were working with it. So it became fun. I still don't like it though, but it is kind of fun when you can zoom in and you can see all the details. You kind of can nerd about how sharp everything is. I love that in a portrait. So I guess perhaps a lot of you guys have seen some of these images. It's from the first project I did together with Fujifilm and Profoto. We had George coming all the way from New York just to join us for this. And I don't know, it was like the best shoot of my life. I think it was absolutely amazing. And at that point, I had saved up for my very own Leica M10. I had been on the waiting list for that one for months, and I was so proud to finally have got it. And then the GFX 50S came along, and in March, the year after, I saw the pictures we did printed on a huge, in a huge format. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, I'm selling my Leica there and then. So I knew I had to switch, because this feeling and the colors that you can get from the GFX was exactly what I had been looking for in my photography for all these years. I thought I kind of was the one to blame. I wasn't good enough at lighting. I wasn't good enough at editing, but all the time I was looking for this medium format feeling. So that was like, yay, the biggest win to finally have found it. And yeah, that's when I had to sell my poor Leica M10 and get a GFX instead. So let me tell you what I love about the system. First of all, colors, of course, colors. They might look a bit dull when I shoot. I do shoot raw, and I kind of shoot, I think all of my images look kind of underexposed when I see them at first, but I know how much you can pull out from a file. I'm never worried in the studio that I don't get the shot because it's too dark or anything. I know there's details. And as you can see, you can pull out quite a lot of colors from the files with I didn't spend super much time on these images because I like it simple and easy. So I use exposure software as color grading, but that's basically it. It's all there from the beginning. So colors, yes, I really like that. And the second thing is, of course, you cannot talk about the GFX system without mentioning sharpness. And I still do this when I get home from a shoot. I pull up my favorite image and I zoom in to 100%, and then I just go like, oh, wow, look at those details. It's like, yes, super nerdy, but as you can see, you have so much details in these files. It's insane. And like the other photographers were talking about, you can crop it and you can do basically whatever you want with the file. And that is really, really a strength. And here's a second one. As you can see, she's gorgeous, and those details are absolutely amazing. I've printed this one, and every picture is better in print, but when you can almost touch it, you can feel the image. It's yeah, it gives me goosebumps. I don't know if I'm the only one, but yeah, it's so good. And my cat agrees with me. And the speed. For me, when working in the studio, I do photograph a lot of kids, and you kind of need to be there, and you need to be prepared. And I think the GFX, for me, it really it gets the shot. I'm not super worried that I will miss anything, as long as I'm sitting there with the camera ready. I know I will get the shot. And I've done a lot of dance portraits as well, and I don't need a faster camera in the studio. It's always nice to have a fast AF, of course, But now with the 50S2, I'm really, really happy with that one and the AF that one has. So it gives me a lot of choices, and I don't have to say no to a certain type of photography in the studio because I don't have the speed. So that's really, really nice. But I also like how the system has made me slow down. It has made me think more about how I'm interacting with the subject. I think Paul was describing it so well when he said that he could give the camera to his mother, because I could be that mother because I'm so very not technical. And I love how easy it is to just pick it up and fire away. Because I don't like technical stuff. I can't be, stressed out about technical things. So that's why I really like how the camera brings me back, that I can be slow with the subject that I have in front of me. I can be slow with the camera, and I can focus on the subject. I don't have to think about how the camera will perform. I can go half a shoot without even looking at the back of my camera, because I know that the focus is there and the speed is there and the lighting is there. It just works, which is super awesome for a non-technical person like me. And I have actually never ever used the movie function on any of my cameras. So that's how untechnical I am. And yeah, I think that is what I have to say about this system. I work really slow compared to the other photographers. But yeah, that's the job I'm doing. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I think that you pointed out some good stuff that I will catch up in the end. That you don't have to be technical to use this camera. It's really easy going. You can use all the technical stuff in the camera behind, because it's a computer, but still you don't have to be technical, and that's actually one of the bullet points. Yeah, definitely, yes. Because you shouldn't consider you having your mind tossing around technical stuff when you're actually going for the picture, and that must be fantastic to have this non-technical stuff hanging over your head.
Yes.
And you named a lot of choices. You have a lot of choices, and actually Flemming and Paul and you have been saying that in between lines, that you have a lot of choices when you use a huge sensor, because you can do stuff and you can do it easily. It's there, and you don't have to do magic or hours of editing to get the result. It's almost there. You just have to squeeze it in your direction, the twist that you need. So some of the common stuff that you actually tell about. So it's been fantastic, and some have asked if this is being recorded, and it will be recorded. And Flemming has also put out a YouTube clip where you have 90 minutes with you, Jessica, where they can see more into the depth of what you're actually doing, and your magic, and the easy stuff, the non-technical stuff. That's a really great YouTube clip to see. So feel free and do that if you want to go into portrait photography easy going. So that's recommended. Thank you very much, Jessica.
Thank you.
And you answered all the questions I popped, so we are satisfied. I think Flemming has a question for you.
Yeah, one final question just popped into the chat from Silvano, who would like to know, Jessica, whether you prefer constant light or flash.
I use flash for everything. I've tried constant lights. So I do have a couple of these nano lights kind of thing, and they're really fun, but not for my regular work. Then I use flash.
Fantastic. No more questions? No? Thank you very much, Jessica. Spot on.
Thank you.
Now we'll actually leave you, and then I will actually invite Søren Solkær into the room. Hi, Søren. Just to tell about how we actually do in the future. The three previous photographers here is Flemming, Paul, and Jessica, and they are ambassadors for Fujifilm. But nowadays we actually work with non-ambassadors, more going out in the field and listening to photographers actually working with our tools. And I must admit that there's a lot of great photographers out there, and suddenly your name popped up when I visited the store, and I looked at some of your pictures, and I said, oh yeah, I know that guy, but he's working with another brand and so on. I said, no, he's actually fiddling around with the GFX. And I said, Søren, is he's playing with the GFX? That can't be right. And I actually don't remember, but we've actually been working almost a year now, talking back and forth, and you're not an ambassador for us, but you actually work with GFX among other cameras in your daily lives from other brands, and that's natural to do that. But I didn't reckon that you would actually grab a medium format, but you have a great reason to doing that, and a story behind it. So I'll actually leave the stage to you and tell us how come that you actually entered Fujifilm and GFX 100. That surprised me and made me happy. Yeah.
It actually surprised me too. So,
so you got a hint from a business partner that you have.
Yeah, actually. I mean, I'll just give a little bit of background. I don't know if you did that while I was gone.
No, we just had. So you just tell us about it.
Just for those who don't know me, I've been working in professional photography since the mid-90s. So I've started out in the analog era for the first 7 or 8 years, and then I've been digital since 2002. I can't see you, Ip. I don't know if you're still. Are you still there? Or
I'm still here and I'm still listening.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Okay,
sure.
Just wanted to be sure.
Yeah, I'm here.
So I started working with GFX about a year ago, and basically I've been working with the same post-production studio for many years, almost for I think 18 years. It's a studio called Eli in Copenhagen, who does all my post-production. And I've been working with, I mean, I started out shooting a lot of medium format when I was still analog, but since I went digital, I've been working on full frame cameras. And about a little over a year ago, my post-production guy told me, Søren, we got to talk. There's a new camera in town, and I was very skeptical. I didn't really want to change my camera because I can use my full frame cameras with we're blindfolded basically. So I was very happy with using the cameras that I was accustomed to. But he told me that there are some files now that are way better than I've been used to, and file size has been something that I've been very that I've been a little bit unhappy about for some years, because I work a lot in art photography. I do commercial photography, but I also do a lot of books and exhibitions. Yeah. And oftentimes I work on really large format prints. So some of my exhibitions have been prints, like 100 prints up to 2 by 3 meters. And squeezing that out of a full frame file can be done, but having a bigger file is a huge advantage rather than just scaling your files. So I got quite curious when Eli told me that there are new files, they are bigger, and actually the quality of them is just amazing. So I had to give it a go, and I have to say he was right. And also, though, and on top of that, there were many other things about the camera. I mean, I didn't start with the 50. I mean, I'd only come on board now with the latest model. So I don't really know the history, but I have to say that I'm hugely impressed with this one. I mean, of course, shooting with another system for so many years, there's some getting used to, especially the menus and so on, and the buttons are different. But now that I have it down,
I was wondering when I spoke to you, because I knew that you're working with full frame, and I was actually a bit curious whether the speed and the handling and the feeling about actually having another tool in that size and a Fuji, which was it should be a bit slower than full frame, and I was curious whether you actually could work with the GFX 100. How did that the first thought you had when you used it is it fast enough? Is it a good tool, and how does it work for you? Because that must be a topic.
Yeah, well, I do different things, and so there are different issues on different jobs, and I mean, I've been doing portraiture for 25 years, mainly photographing celebrities from the world of film and literature and music, and then on the side I've been doing personal projects. So I've published 7 books with various projects. For my portraiture, once I got it in my fingers, because I always work fully manual, except for the focus, but with focus I really work only with one point, and that's also one that I control myself. So I really like to be fully in control of what I'm doing, both in terms of exposure and focus and so on. So it took me a little while, to really nail it, but now I can. Now I get 100 perfectly exposed and perfectly focused pictures out of 100. So now I'm really used to it. There are some of my projects where, or some of my jobs where the file size is not necessary at all, and where it would almost be a nuisance to have that much information. And in some of those cases, I just take my full frame camera. Then there's my newest project that I'm still working on right now. It's called Black Sun, and it's photographing starling murmurations. So these very big flocks of birds that make these incredible shapes in the sky, and
very impressive pictures. I actually have the book just behind me here, and I know that catching starlings is quite a job. They make these great formations, but it goes really fast. It's and it's often in low light situations also, so that it's also difficult to work with the speed and low light. So, my biggest,
for those, I also make large prints, so I really had a big wish to capture these images on Fuji, and I was worried about the focus, because the birds can fly quite fast, and the really good pictures appear when, as you said, in quite low light, and also it's when the birds get attacked by hawks or falcons. The focus has turned out to be no problem at all. There are a couple of issues that I could wish would be better. There are a couple of reasons why I carry 3 cameras when I shoot these Starling memorations. I have 2 full-frame cameras with 2 different lenses, because you could wait for a week and then you get 10 good seconds, and then you got to be ready at all times.
Yeah.
But then my middle camera is the GFX, and whenever the circumstances allow, I of course want those files to record.
So between the lines, I actually hear you have a question for me whether the GFX system might be a bit faster. I can hear that, so let's take that question, because that's actually a good question. Yeah.
There are two things, I mean, that I could dream of. One is right now, I mean, when you shoot these birds at a fairly fast shutter speed, it's 1/500th of a second to freeze them. Yeah. And at the same time, you don't have much light, so it means you only have the ISO to adjust, really, and there is a limit, as I see it, to I mean, if I go above a certain number, what is gained in resolution, I kind of lose, I think, in noise. So that's one thing. And another thing is, I mean, it shoots 5 frames per second. And as I said, sometimes the real amazing action, it happens in a very short time. And really, it happens so fast that you cannot even record with your eyes what's happening. You see that afterwards in your photo. Yeah. And the more frames you get, the more chance you have that you actually hit the right split second. Yeah. And actually, so it's a question of, my question is there, will there be any improvements down the line in terms of sensitivity and also buffer? Because of course I understand that the buffer is slow since the files are so huge. Yeah. But after a number of shots, maybe 25 or so, I have to start waiting, and you don't want to be waiting when the sky's on fire.
Exactly. You actually bump into exactly those questions, because when you start working with a sensor like that and a camera like that, and you get like Jessica, fall in love with the files and the look and so on, then the next question pops up: speed, and can I actually use it in other scenarios like you do with the Starlings? That's a really good question, and I cannot reveal everything. Then I have to shut down the webinar jam and shoot you all, because there's some secrets. But if you look into the technicalities and the technical stuff that actually is arriving in the market right now, and in May we will actually show some new stuff we told about earlier on last year, that will come with a new sensor. And if you see the sensor technology and the processor technology, those are the 2 main factors in the camera. To actually keep the good image quality, you need to have a really, really fast and good working processor, and then you need to have a good sensor. And if you look into our X system, it's been along for 10 years, and the technical stuff that's going into these cameras nowadays are going in that direction. New sensors, new processors, and they will definitely speed up stuff. So why shouldn't they actually drop down, like in the X system, drop down and drop down to the GFX system? Because actually our X system is our fast product, fast camera, but the technical stuff from those cameras actually drops down on the GFX. That's actually how we started up GFX. First 5 years with X, and then GFX, and then we pulled the technical stuff and the sensor processors and so on, not the sensor but the processor, into the camera, the IBIS and so on. So I reckon, without telling every secret that we have, but they will get faster and faster, and when the processors get so snappy as they are doing right now, we'll definitely see speed increasing, and you don't have to work with one factor only ISO in the future. That's definitely our goal and our aims to go in that direction. Of course, because we want this camera to be, as we told in the beginning, a super full frame, as we call it, because we want to skip jump the full frame. So it should be a super full frame. It should be as versatile and as possible, as technical possible. So we will aim for that every day. We actually work, and the engineers are working in Japan. So I believe that we will go in that direction. When and I can't tell you, but I think it will come, and things go faster and faster technically. So yeah, I think you'll get a camera one day that actually has a medium format sensor and can burst quite a lot more cameras and buffer it also. I think so. I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. We're working on it definitely. So yeah, but that's actually also why I was hoping that you will bring that to the questions, because that's a question you have when you get a large sensor that's a bit slower than smaller sensor systems. So it's a good question. So, but I believe we'll go there. So, yeah. But you talked about printing pictures, and that's you print a lot, and you have had huge exhibitions and so on. And I really hope that we can show some of your pictures taken with the GFX in the future. We'll try to organize that. Yeah. But that's actually you when we meet, you talk about, you know, resolution and you know, also the size of the sensor that it brings more to your printed pictures, and that's one of the stuff that you do care about a lot, I know. Yes. And that makes us interested in printing also. How do you work with it? So
yeah, it's also a big part of my business, really, because I work, more than, I would say, biggest part of my business now is really the art market. So okay. So I also sell a lot of fine art prints. So it's very important to me what files I have to work with.
Yeah. And I actually love that you work with it, and why I actually follow you, and we meet sometimes is just to listen. What are the terms within, you know, printing and so on? Listen to you. That what is it actually you want from a camera? What do you actually need? You need a resolution, but the colors probably, depth also, so you can pull out the colors into the printings. Emotion. Are there any soul in the pictures more than in a smaller sensor? Do you see some more what do you call it, soul and depth in the pictures you get from?
Yeah, for sure. They're, I think, both in the quality and the look of the final image. It reminds me more about really when I started out doing photography. So I was shooting Hasselblad back in the day, analog, and I really feel like this, both the actual camera has a lot of the, as Pål was saying, also has a lot of the sort of real classic camera qualities to it. So it has given me some of the joy of being a photographer back. I've loved it all along, but I think it's a very cool camera to have in your hand. And,
actually, 8 years ago when I joined FUJIFILM, the first 10 times photographers like you told me about Fuji. I didn't know Fuji at that point. They said, I'm actually happy to be back where I started. And maybe we're getting older because we're old photographers, been there for a long time in the industry. But actually, that was actually the feeling that going back to where it all started, when it was fun, and then you have the technical aspects with you, that it's still like it was when I started and got caught by photography, the soul with the camera and so on. And then you have the digitally super fast warp speed that you need today, but that combined, and that's what I hear a lot. And you told me about that, and I feel like you experienced the same with the Fuji camera.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's I love the combination of the a very, very classic camera body, and then to have like a very, very high-tech interior of that camera.
Yeah. And it's actually also why I follow you, we would like to push the technology and the cameras and listen to you working with the cameras and telling us about how you actually work with it and how you feel about it. That's important for us actually to develop the next camera, and hopefully we will develop a fantastic speedy warp speed medium format camera. I hope so. If they're listening in Japan, otherwise I will get executed tomorrow, or they will actually make a camera to us that is with these buffer and ISO and faster speed. I think it would come in the future, definitely. So we can get that. It's fantastic to hear about. I know that you have something in your sleeve actually tonight, because you haven't showed any pictures, and I think people may be wondering whether we should see some pictures. But
yes,
yeah, but we actually gave you a task and we have actually Tine Reingård, who's a film director, actually made a film.
Yes.
Yeah, and
she also happens to be my girlfriend as well. So.
As well too. Yeah. Yeah. So we actually you started using GFX, and we put the X-T4 in her hands. She's not been working with the Fujifilm either. So we were actually risking our necks here and think, let's do it. Let's look behind the curtains. Who is Søren, and what is Søren all about, and what is this actually all about that you're doing? Because I think you have a fantastic story, and you have some fantastic books and pictures, and you have something in your pictures that really speaks to me at least, and a lot of other people I know. So we did that, and I think, should we pop the video, or should we do it now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and then we take some questions and answers afterwards. Maybe there's some more stuff too. And I think we should go back to 50 megapixels and 100 question also. What would you choose? You can discuss that afterward. Flemming, he's here. He's the technician. So
yeah, I'm ready to press play.
My name is Søren Solkær. I'm a photographer based in Denmark. For the past 25 years, I've photographed mainly musicians and actors all over the world. Portraiture has been a very important discipline in my work. Det er fedt, det der. Der var den. Det ser fucking fedt ud, det der. Super sejt. Hvad synes du, Alex?
Fedt.
Skal vi lige se her.
Det er fedt, det der. Hvad leder du efter, når du ser et af dem, og så er du sådan her?
Jeg synes bare, man kan se det.
Ja, der er ikke noget specifikt.
Jo, jeg kigger selvfølgelig på udtryk, lys, komposition. Ja. Når det hele det falder på plads. Det her, det er jo...
Det er jo rimelig... Hold kæft, ja. Det er så godt.
I've shot on many different camera systems during my career. Starting out shooting analog back in the 90s, switched to full-frame digital, which I've been shooting for many years. Then medium format digital came along, but for many years that was something that was only usable in a studio environment with tripod and a lot of lights. My latest camera, the Fuji GFX 100S, suddenly combines the best of both worlds. It's an extremely big file, it's more than 100 megapixels, and at the same time it's very versatile. It's no bigger than a full-frame camera. It's something that I carry around and use also for more spontaneous shooting. It's a total game changer that you get the versatility and the huge file in the same body. There are a few different aspects that are important to me when I do a portrait. I try to establish a strong connection to the person I'm photographing. I'm trying to create an atmosphere of intimacy. I'm interested in the inner life of the other person, and I'm trying to capture that. At the same time, I'm also interested in lighting the portrait so that there is some sort of artistic edge and style to the portrait. So it's sort of the meeting of feeling and intimacy and something that's a little more edgy. I feel that with my Black Sun project, I have reconnected with nature. A connection that was very strong growing up, but that I cut for several decades. I feel very present when I'm in nature, and also I do feel a strong connection to this natural phenomenon. I need to be extremely present to capture it. It's some sort of a meditation for me to photograph these birds. Seeing my work on paper is very, very different from just seeing it on a screen. I love finding the right paper with the right texture to add the tactile sensation to a photograph. The print can never be better than the quality and the size of your file. The file size becomes crucial. I love to use artificial lights because it enables me to create a mood and an atmosphere and create a cinematic feeling. In most of my adult life, I've spent time in big cities because that's what I've been drawn to, and that's also where most of my portraiture work has taken place. I'm very convinced that I will always be doing portraits for the rest of my career. But I feel a stronger pull to nature, and I'm sure that some of my future projects will be nature and travel related. I'm very interested in landscapes, trees, and big new horizons.
This was actually fantastic to, I don't know whether you're there, Søren?
I'm here.
You're there, yeah. It's actually fantastic to, we planned this to gather you into this video and to present you. And it shows that you are working with the different styles, your own projects, like the Starling pictures, and then you work with portraits, and I can really recommend that you buy these books where you can see work that Søren has been doing for quite a lot of years. You also have this book called Surface, which is also really incredible. And I reckon that we'll see more stuff coming from you. You have more projects probably in your back of your head that you want to show, probably.
For sure. Yeah.
And you actually brought along the XT4, and you shot with the GFX, and suddenly you had flash and rain and nature and so on. Nature, is that one of your projects in the future, maybe?
Yeah, well, I have some, I mean, definitely photographing these birds for the last few years has really inspired me to, I mean, I really love being out in nature, and I think my next challenge will be to sort of try to see if I can find my expression in landscape photography. I mean, maybe not quite classic landscape photography, but I mean, I want to see if there's something there for me. So I have a trip in mind right now that I will probably go on very soon to a very, very special island in the Arabian Sea.
Yeah. I think we will follow you, and I think that if you are more interested in seeing what Søren is doing, and Pål and Jessica and Flemming, you just stick to our YouTube channels or us and follow us. We'll probably I'll stick like glue to you and follow you, so I don't miss the opportunity if you have another project or something like that. And sometimes we might challenge you and the cameras in your hands, and that would create some more questions and ideas around the GFX medium format system. I hope that we can evolve it and make it better and better for all of you photographers out there using it. I'm really happy that you actually had the time to join us. I know that you're a busy man traveling, and really happy that you joined us tonight. That was fantastic, and happy to present you together with Pål and Flemming and Jessica. And are you still there, Pål and Jessica and Flemming?
Yep.
Yeah, you're still there.
All here.
All here.
Yeah, I just actually want to wrap something off. I still mention the non-technical, the feeling, the slowdown, or maybe speed it up a bit too. So that would be nice. A lot of choices, not doing much post-production, save some time. There was one Q&A actually I bumped into during tonight, and that was actually 50 megapixels GFX or 100. Do you have any preferences? Is 100 better than 50? Or is it the sensor size that actually makes the twist? I know our answer, technical answer, but what do you reckon?
50 or 100?
50 or 100, yeah.
50 is double as 100 is double as good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like happy hour in the bar, isn't it?
Yes, 2 is better than 1, man.
Yeah.
I think
I buy that.
For me, 50 is actually plenty. I'd be quite happy with 50, even if I'm shooting a panorama and chopping half of it off. I still have 25 really high quality megapixels, and for what I do, that's really enough. And I think Søren also mentioned that like for Concert 2, I get home with a lot of files, and sometimes it's just overkill to have 102 megapixels in these. So I think going forward, the 50S2 is what I'm going to use.
Yeah. And Jessica, you're shooting with the 50 megapixel.
Yep.
Have you tried a 100?
Yes, I actually did, but I prefer the 50 megapixel actually, because that is really the look I'm going for.
Yeah. So there's a difference in the look and what you're searching for.
I think so, yes. And people have been calling me crazy for saying so, since 100 megapixels should be better. But for me, it really wasn't. So I actually switched back to 50.
Yeah. And Søren, you have probably not actually tried the 50, haven't you?
I haven't tried it, and I'm not going to.
Oh, don't go back. So I think that you should actually go into the stores and try it out, because I know there's try and buy options in all countries in the Nordics, and definitely shoot, get or maybe rent one of each and take some shots and look what is actually. Is it the same, or do you need the resolution? Do you need the 100, or do you need only the 50? The sensor size is definitely giving you a lot of stuff to work with, either. So I can promise you that. I know that we actually 3 minutes past actually closing down time. So maybe people in the chat and the attendees want to go to bed, but we can still go on chatting here. We'll keep the line open for some minutes if you have something to add. Actually, I don't know whether you have something to add to each other or me. More questions for me, maybe, or not?
Can you turn on the pink lights, please?
Sorry?
Turn on the pink lights in the background.
Yeah, yeah. I have to. Last time, I had some corny lights last time we tried to pop this webinar, so now I'm having blue and green lights, so it doesn't get too nasty. Yeah. So I think
it's like one comment that watching all of my amazing colleagues in this fantastic work, and it's so diverse, and it's because we suddenly have this medium format camera you can just treat like any camera on your shoulder, and like going back to those really nice panoramic film cameras, but like the G617 is just an enormous beast that weighs like 5 kilos or something. It would be pretty useless on the orange stage at Roskilde. And the big backs and everything, the old systems and slowness, and suddenly we can just run around and pretend this is just a pocket camera, like a large normal DSLR type thing. We just use it for everything. That's really an amazing advancement that's brought forward by the GFX system, I think.
Yeah. I think you pretty much got really widely around all the aspects of GFX, and that was actually also the task tonight to tell how diverse it is, and of course you work as professionals, but there's a lot of people not working as professionals. But if you're really into image quality and want loads and loads and loads of information and stuff to work with, if you like really doing post-processing, you'll get plenty of post-processing material if you want shooting medium format. Definitely check what speed you need, and you might need 2 cameras, so keep a camera system and build this on top of. And I know that many of you have 2 systems. It's probably only Jessica who's only shooting medium format because you're very specialized. But the rest of you actually have 2 systems, and that's quite common that you actually have a hammer for each topic that you're shooting. So there's some questions about some upcoming lenses. I cannot answer when the new lenses are the date, but within a year. We always pop some new stuff within a year. So when we have these timelines for lenses, the question is, when do the 20 to 35 arrive, or the tilt shift? I actually don't know, but it will be within a year. So we'll keep
Is there a tilt shift coming?
There's a tilt shift coming. Yeah. Now I got your attention. I know you like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, and if you're doing architecture or something like that, it's awesome. Or landscape, it's really
portraits. It's very cool for portraits.
Yeah.
Do you know what the focal length would be of the tilt
actually,
shift?
Tokyo keep that as a top secret. They haven't even given us a clue around so I actually don't know at the moment. So I know we'll probably know within a certain area that it will be within, but I actually don't know. But we're looking forward to that one, and when it arrives, I think that we should maybe leave it in some of your hands and take some pictures and really squeeze it to the limits so we can see what actually coming out of that. I know that you probably will die to try it. So we will do that definitely. So you can see there's some questions popping up. It's mostly about sensor size and what do you like the most. How much post-processing, Jessica, was there in the picture with the really beautiful woman? I think there was a. Well, I think you don't do much with the. How much there was some bread patching? How much retouch was there in the beautiful portrait of the black woman, Jessica?
I leave all my skin retouch and beauty images to a super talented lady called Maya. Yeah. So I actually don't do the skin retouch on beauty images myself. I only do the color grading. I do the color grading of every single picture I leave to clients, even if I don't do the skin retouch. But that's about like 20 minutes or something. Unless it's for family, then it's like 5 minutes per image.
Yeah. So if you're family, you only get 5 minutes. Yeah.
It has to be quick. There's so many images.
Yeah. So I think that we actually went around quite a lot of topics, and we got a full view into your daily work and life, and working with one tool in your daily life at least. So thank you very much for participating this night. Thank you, Jessica, and thank you, Paul. Thank you, Flemming, for the technician, and thank you, Søren, for being here also. I was very happy to see you in the crowd here. So it's almost, we'll try to get some Finnish people next time. Maybe we have some Finnish photographers too, some really skilled. So we'll try to get some more webinars during the next period of time. And don't forget that in May there will be a Tokyo Summit, and it will be released during May when we have this Tokyo Summit. So keep into your social media platforms and look at FUJIFILM Nordic sites, Sweden, Norway, Finland, and Denmark, so you don't miss that opportunity in May when Tokyo is presenting something. And maybe in between we will do this. We will record this and send it out as a YouTube clip, and so we can look individually on your talk. So thank you very much for tonight, for participating. Have a good evening and enjoy doing photography out there. No matter what you shoot with, just do it and create some great pictures. Now you got some inspiration. I hope you enjoyed it and will be inspired by these four magnificent photographers. I am every day. I talk to these guys. So take care out there. Thank you for joining. Thank you.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Bye.
Have a really good night.